Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar Digital Transformation Overcoming the COVID-19 Disruptions. Today, we have industry stalwarts to some of your very well-known figures who will join us for this panel. This panel is brought to you by MPC, MDEC, the Electrical and Electronics Productivity Nexus, as well as the Digital Productivity Nexus. So certainly COVID-19 has brought challenges to all business. And maybe just to start the webinar on a lighter note, most of you may have seen a WhatsApp circulated. Who is responsible for digital transformation in your organization? Is it the CEO, the CFO, the CIO, the CTO, or COVID-19? So that is, I think on a lighter note, it tells you that sometimes we act in the case of necessity. And necessity forces us to take certain action to be able to adopt to the new normal. So today, today's discussion would we will talk more a little bit about some of the things that we see happening as a result of COVID-19 and how companies can take advantage of the situation. In terms of setting the context before I invite and introduce the speakers, there are some research that have shown that in terms of productivity, because this session we will talk about productivity, and one of the things that we talked about is in terms of labor productivity. And interesting facts that I think every year MPC publishes the annual productivity report. Malaysia, in terms of productivity, we are ranked, of course, certainly higher than our neighbors such as Thailand, the Philippines, Vietnam, in terms of productivity per employee. And this is done using a formula, what they call GDP per work hour. And in the case of Malaysia, I think we score fairly well. I think in the case of Malaysia, we are looking at $31 per work hour. In the case of the United States of America, it's $72. I think when it comes to productivity per work hour, there are certain aspects in which we can propel productivity, because the amount of labor being put in is just one aspect of productivity. Technology is another aspect. The capital that's being put in will also influence the productivity. So the more technology you invest in the organization, the productivity increases. The productivity per work hour would also increase. So today we have an interesting session, and thank you very much for joining me. What I will do is maybe just mention a couple of house rules so that you're aware of. Please keep your questions coming. You can always publish your questions, send it to me. I will go through those questions, and sometimes the questions may overlap. I will then paraphrase those questions so that the speakers can answer them. The Q&A will take place towards the end, but for now, what we will do is we will hear from our distinguished panel of speakers. Allow me to introduce the three speakers. The first speaker we have is Dato Sri Wong Siew Hai. He is certainly a very well-known speaker. He is the champion of the Electrical and Electronics Productivity Nexus. I first met him in the late 90s when he was the head of Intel up in Penang, as well as I think globally as a vice president of Intel Corporation. Dr. Sri Wong is also the chairman of the American Malaysian electronics industry in Malaysia as part of AmCham. So with that, let me introduce the first speaker and give him about 5 to 7 minutes to cover. So allow me to invite Dato Sri Wong.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. Just before I kick off my presentation, I just want to say a few words very quickly about the E&E Productivity Nexus. Its objective is to improve the productivity in the E&E industry, as well as move the E&E industry to growth and up the value chain. Its contribution to the Malaysian export is about 38%, 380 billion of the total national export. It employs 560,000 people in this industry. and it contributes about 6.3% to the GDP. So I call it the very important engine of the industry for Malaysia, and it is the engine, I call it the engine of recovery and engine of growth. Okay, so let's go back to this digital transformation. Next slide, please. Are we getting a next slide?
We are.
Okay. So as you know, the COVID-19 has bring us to a new normal, and we started this digital transformation with MDEC 25 years ago, and COVID-19 is just another catalyst that pushes us to go towards the digital transformation journey, and probably going to accelerate it. So you can see there, you see adopt, evolve, accelerate. First of all, we got to adopt and then evolve, and I think we are at that stage of evolving with MDEX driving it, and then we're accelerating. The chart on the right just shows the strategy and execution on the X and Y axis. And if you are no strategy, no execution, you'll be at status quo and you probably perish. And if you are at high strategy and high execution, then you'll be probably at the growth level. And the other side, you see the hit and miss. If you have no execution, no strategy, you have good execution but no strategy, you are lucky, you get a hit. If not lucky, you get a miss. And on the other side, you can't even execute, then your risk continue to increase. Okay. Next, please. Digital transformation, what opportunities are there in the entire company? First of all, the opportunity to increase revenue and profitability through things like digital sales and marketing. I'm sure the other speaker will speak more to it. Cost reduction via e-bidding, for example, but many areas of cost reduction through the digital transformation. There's also reduced time to market when you decentralize design and development, where remote labs are all working around the clock. You work till in the day, they sleep, and then the other team will continue working when you are sleeping. So you have that full cycle of getting design done. And also that you have the smart manufacturing for data management across the entire production floor. As you know, data is really important. It will tell you what to do, whether the machine needs maintenance, whether the machine needs attention, or where you are in the production progress. You can also strengthen talent and competency through hopefully remote e-training like now, because you can't attend, can't go to the office. And that's very important, that you can still continue to develop your human resource and improve customer satisfaction through customer relationship management and after sales support, which is all online. You can do customers, contact customers online, give them information, ask them to respond, and so on. Next page. And also we are pushing for Industry 4.0. The last 2 years, we have been doing awareness and introducing how to do some of the Industry 4.0. The late last year, the second half of last year, and this year, our E&E Productivity Nexus is looking at how to showcase how Industry 4.0 is implemented. For example, in areas of IoT, where we have what do you call it, Plug Fest, where we have a 2-3 days class that show how this can be implemented in the factory. We also have hackathon for university students to again introduce the subject to them about what can be done to improve design development and help the factories to perform and solve real problems. So we expect, if we do that in the factory through either process automation, IoT, data analytics, you will lower production long time, reduce piece part inventory, and so on. Okay, and maximize your headcount. At the end of the day, you have higher overall equipment effectiveness. Next, please. So how do we start and where do we start for this journey? This is the few steps that I'm sharing with you. First, you've got to define your new business model. Like you got to rethink about the whole model. Don't just go in and do what it is today. And think like an architect, like you want to design a house. So think about it, define the model, then you formulate a clear digital transformation strategy or blueprint. You identify a management champion, which is very key, because most of the time when you have all these plans with no leader, no one championing in the factory or in the organization, it will fall into the cracks. Establish a diverse implementation team, engage everyone, tap everybody's brain, and build the necessary talent and competencies to get the transformation going. You need to prioritize your work plans, try to tackle the low-hanging fruits, and show some success as you build the whole journey. And of course, you have to invest in crucial ICT infrastructure, otherwise you can't really get the whole transformation going. So these are the few things for you to think about. With that, I think, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sri. You certainly kept to time, so appreciate that. Let us move on to the second speaker. As I mentioned earlier, she's an industry stalwart. She's a well-known figure in the Malaysian tech industry. She's also very much involved in terms of policy making, engaging the government, and making sure we have the right and conducive environment for Malaysian tech companies and also the user community to operate. She's the Chief Operating Officer of MDEC. She is also one of the pioneer people who brought the MSC to its fruition. So she is one of the drivers who make sure that we have MSC, the MSC that what we know of today. She will give you a slightly different perspective. I think she will talk more from the SME angle, and she will be able to share with you in terms of some from the demand side, what are some of the things that SMEs and also the user community are thinking about. So with that, allow me to invite Dato' Ng Wan Ping to share with you her thoughts on this topic. Dato'.
Thank you. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see the screen.
All right. So today's topic is mentioned by Ken Yu, and very interesting because just now Dr. Sri Wong already talked about digital transformation. So I'm continuing from what I was sharing, digital transformation overcoming the COVID-19 disruptions. Yes, it's true that we have, as a country, we started digital transformation journey for many years. The only difference is a lot of people don't associate what we do or what we have done with digital transformation. So the early days, the term used was computerization, and then later we move into ICT. And digital transformation is a new term that is becoming very popular for the last few years. And while action has shown that we have done quite a fair bit in the country, but most people do not recognize that as digital transformation, or many people don't even know that this thing exists. At the same time, there are also a lot of people believe that we still have time. My business is doing very well. So maybe it's good for others, but I don't need it. However, you can see that due to this COVID-19, globally, everybody is talking about new normal, and digitalization is becoming the most talked about topic amongst many business owners. Many people are suffering, especially those who do not have a digital presence, be it a developed country or developing country. That's why you hear all these stories that coming out from even the most advanced country in the world, like United States, where we are talking about how many million people has already filed for unemployment benefit. I think largely due to the fact that the company that they work for or their own companies was not prepared to face this situation. And when I say not prepared, it's because they have no way to reach out to their customer. They have no way to reach out to supply chain. You take the physical constraint out, but even the things that does not necessarily require physical interaction, physical action, is also not possible because they are totally not prepared. The same thing is also applicable to Malaysia. But if you look at the data, you can see that consumers are purchasing online. So what happened is that they are moving towards the businesses that can serve their needs. So online retailers' transaction has improved, online gaming has improved. So companies that are in this business, they definitely are benefiting because consumer needs to get certainty. So that's one. Secondly is on the payment side. Again, in Malaysia, we have been trying to promote contactless payment, e-payment for many years already. At the same time, again, people say that, okay, I don't want to use it because I'm not familiar with it. It's not the way how I conduct my daily business. But now, because of the COVID-19, people realize that I need to be safe when I transact, and I don't want the physical money. So suddenly that you see a surge in a contactless payment as well throughout the world, and even in Malaysia. So what does that mean? So global cloud services and online collaboration usage has increased. And we're talking about in the first quarter of the year. And of course, the data for the second quarter is not out yet. I can imagine second quarter will see even more. And if you look at the New York Stock Exchange, the price for Amazon, the price for Microsoft has all gone up. And even in Malaysia, we see that some of the more conservative organizations, including some of the agencies in government, has asked about how, and that we ourselves has helped some of the agencies to move some of their services to the cloud platform, because that's the only way that you can scale fast and all. Again, the crisis has forced everyone to think about how can we use technology to conduct our business. And it may not be necessary for some people, even though we believe so, but now it becomes critical that if you don't do it, you can forget about running your business. Online education is another trend that we see, and the country that is more prepared, the schools that are more prepared, you will see that they can continue with their daily routine. But those who are not prepared is at a disadvantage. So this is both economic issue as well as a social issue. According to World Economic Forum, the digitalization definitely can stimulate economy. And you can look at the new digital services and businesses that people are looking at. The opportunity we can see is in new emerging business models, new generation smart cities, big data is going to be even more prominent, offline business driven to shift online. Of course, this one I talked about just now, right? Education, entertainment, especially even retail. I mean, I would say even retail, especially retail. Everybody is moving. In Malaysia, we see that even the farmers who like in the past say that this is nothing to do with me, but when they have goods, they have fresh produce that is like, nobody will come in to buy from them. They have to be creative. Within 1 week or 2 weeks, they digitalize. And these are the people that for years we've been telling them, they say, no, nothing to do with me. But when problem hits the ground, this is when people will see. There will still people be sitting down there and say, don't know what to do. That's why you can see that like 8 million gallon of milk was thrown, the boat full of fish was thrown into the sea, because they still do not know how to. So that's where the business people, especially technology service provider, can come in and play a part to help people to digitalize and therefore benefit everyone. So you get the business, you help the business to continue to run their business. Value chain of healthcare will also change. We'll see more use of telehealth. And telehealth is becoming a key topic for policymakers now. Social media users will expand and it will include government. So these are all the things that we are seeing. Just want to share a little bit of what the support that MDEC is doing. Obviously, MDEC is not the only agency, but as rightly pointed out by Dr. Sri Wong, we have started the journey 25 years ago. We continue to push this, and digitalization is becoming a very key component of how to stimulate Malaysia's economy. We all heard of the 6R from the. Currently, we are the third R, which is the restart. After that, it will be reform, revitalize, as well as recovery, revitalize, and reform. So we are currently at the restart stage. When we're restarting the business, we are returning to the new normal. So it is very important that we drive every businesses to go digital. Granted, there will be certain on and offline business and combine a hybrid model will happen in the future. A hybrid model also means that you need to have a digital presence. So this is what we are trying to help, be it micro SMEs or small SME or medium SME or even the corporate. There are programs for them. So the journey that we look at is that you can start with digital presence if you have nothing. So most of the initiative that our e-usahawan does is actually helping them. And after that, you can go to, e-business or e-commerce, digital operations, and then you slowly move into more productivity tools. Because ultimately, the digitalization is also help to improve the productivity. When we were promoting digitalization to most of the SMEs like 5-6 years ago, we used productivity as a reason to do that. By the time, most people don't see it. But now, it's both productivity as well as sustainability of a business. So it becomes something that is necessary, that is no longer do I want to, is I need to do this. So the whole thing is eventually is to help the SME in Malaysia to future-proof their business. Some of the initiatives that we have, you can see on the screen, e-usahawan, Pedas, e-commerce, DFTZ. These are largely the e-commerce related. Then you go into vertical like e-ladang. This is to help agriculture. E-ladang, there will be two parts: how to use agriculture technology, we call agro-tech, plus also the supply chain. Then supply chain will then go back to the e-commerce and logistic part. And obviously, everybody will need cybersecurity, because when you are online, you want to make sure that the system is secure. So cybersecurity is also a key focus. And you need to have a place that you run your system. That's where the cloud adoption become an issue and it become a necessity. So cloud adoption will include cloud services as well as the data center, which is something that also we are promoting. And then the other tools like data analytics. Why it is important? Because we have been doing analysis, but we didn't know that we are using data analytics. Today, using technology, you can have better insights and can better run your business. So if somebody wants to pivot their business, also you can do that. And program that we have, the name that we normally use is 100 Go Digital and DTAP. 100 Go Digital will cover mainly awareness and also to get buy-in. DTAP is going to the more sophisticated digitalization. And when we first started, we were working with the medium size and also the corporate to do this, but doesn't mean that the SME cannot take part in this. And these are some of the help, not necessarily MDEC, but MDEC has a role in every one of this. SME Business Digitalization Matching Grant is something we work as a partner to Bank Simpanan Nasional. As the party to disburse the fund, MDEC is responsible to help to identify the verticals that where SME can benefit. We started with 5 verticals, and now we have we actually added 2 more and will announce soon, because this is to also again as a response to the COVID situation. We have MDEC is given the responsibility to drive something called Smart Automation Grant for the services sector. Services is very broad, so don't worry about whether you are services, because most of the thing that we do is actually services. And of course, MIDA have another bigger fund that is also under Smart Automation Grant, but that's mainly for manufacturing. At the same time, MDEC is also working with MIDA to drive the Digital Transformation Acceleration Program. Just now you saw previously I talked about DTAC. Actually, there is a fund attached to it, and we're actually tapping into DISF, which is a grant part under MIDA to help companies who want to go into this area. Lastly, the IDTF is a loan, and with a lower interest rate that is offered by Bank Pembangunan, and this is mainly to help companies to go digitalization, and MDEC is provide advisory services to help a BPMB or Bank Pembangunan to identify what are digitalization area. Now you see, I'm just sharing some of those. We have program, and we also have support in terms of grant. I did not list all the program that we have, so if you're interested to be part of this, I'll encourage that you come to you reach out to us, go to our website www.mdec.my and tell us what is that you're looking at. I will not go into details. This is something we call it SME Quick Win. It's just like immediately we get the support from the industry and offer solutions that SME can adopt as soon as they can, like within 1 week. And we realize that the most popular one is actually remote working. It's something that we never thought about, but remote working become the most popular. And of course, the other things like productivity tools as well. So very quickly, that's what I have to share. Thank you so much, and back to you, Ong.
Thank you, Dato' Wan Peng. I think certainly very interesting nuggets of knowledge that we have learned, even for myself in terms of applying some of this at home. Today, while I'm moderating this session, my 2 daughters, for example, are having their online classes, learning a little bit of Python programming. My wife is also on the conference call. So there are some adjustments that we have to make in this new normal. And this brings me to the next speaker, Dato' Wei Chuan Beng. So Dato' Wei Chuan Beng is no stranger to many of us. He is a former chairman of PICOM. I've known him when the company was called VMS, and later he listed it as Redtone, and today he's a serial entrepreneur investing in startups. Dato' Wei is the champion for the Digital Productivity Nexus. So allow me to invite Dato' Wei, who is dressed immaculately, to say a few words. With that, Dato' Wei. Maybe your mic is on mute, so you may want to unmute the mic.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ken Yu, my old friend, and also Dato' Sri Wong and Dato' Wan Peng, also old friend. Can you hear me? Let me see. You know, I feel that the distance with Ken Yu, Dato' Sri Wong, Dato' Wan Peng has been really near because of the screen. But then last check, they are 20 kilometers away, and Dato' Sri Wong is 200 kilometers away, so I can remove my mask.
Good one, Dato' Wei.
So now, I suppose without the mask, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Perfect.
Okay, great. Yes, certainly I think we have heard a lot of gems and also wisdom from Dato' Sri Wong and Dato' Wan Peng. And I think I would like to take our discussion to a different dimension. You see, while one of the main thrust is about transformation, and transformation and towards productivity. Now, how would that happen actually? This is a time where I feel that there's one aspect in every one of us that I would like to highlight. That is a leadership in us. I would like to call upon all of us to look inside us, bring out the sense of leadership, the leadership that actually will have to take charge of how to navigate through this current situation as the world will change forever. And if we are an individual, yes, we take leadership of ourselves. If we are a leader in a certain department of an organization, of a large community, call out the leadership in us to have that kind of courage to take bold decision. This bold decision is to have a new journey actively into digital adoption. And when we talk about this digital adoption, and with such a major, bold decision to embark on this in a very major manner, it will always mean that we must think of getting somewhere, not just incremental kind of improvement. We have to think about either to break out of the current situation or break through. So first of all, leadership, awakening of leadership. I think I couldn't emphasize more, because if we can have all kind of programs, have all kind of support, we can have all kind of technology available, who is responsible? The party responsible for this, it usually starts from the concept or the idea at whatever. So with that leadership and also with the intention, break out of that situation or to achieve breakthrough, then we are not looking at incremental anymore. We must think about 10x, 100x improvement. In fact, you could see there's so many examples of those companies that we know. And fortunately, unfortunately, these are more like the Fortune 500 names. All these big cloud companies, big e-commerce companies, big whatever online companies, and big IR 4.0 companies. I just thought that we have enough of those names, but it never followed the normal incremental productivity that this year I improved 10%, another year I improved 10%. You can see it's like 1 year, 100%, another year, 1,000%, another year is another 1,000%. How do they achieve that? In fact, the formula or the secret, it is there's one very core part of their whole secret there is actually full digital adoption. So what does digital means? Digital, the foundation of it is ICT. Even though ICT may not be the new term, but there's a new definition. It could be expanded to a full IR 4.0. Datuk Sri Wong has spoken about adopting all the aspect of industrial revolution technologies. Of course, Datuk Wan Peng has spoken a lot about a lot of foundation of the information technology there. So combining this is actually IR 4.0 group of technologies. Anything from IoT, cloud, big data, the AR, VR, virtual reality, augmented reality, blockchain, and so forth in that whole basket. There's no single one. Of course, internet is very much connecting and interconnecting everything there. C is a connectivity. Connectivity of any form, be it Bluetooth, be it Wi-Fi, be it any kind of wireless, be it 4G, 5G, satellites, and so on. So when we want to actually fully embrace digital kind of method, connectivity is always a must. So we want to be able to adopt any available kind of connectivity. And third one is technology that is currently available. Sometimes we say, okay, if I wait next year, I could actually potentially get a better technology. In fact, it doesn't work that way. Technology that is readily available, once we adopt, from there, we get used to that use of technology. We can always enhance the usage when there's a newer version, a newer type of technology that can improve the whole process better. We are ready. Otherwise, we will never be ready. So digital to achieve breakthrough, number one. Number two, this is a time where customers are bombarded out there with all kinds of different offerings. So they want to work with companies that they can trust. You find that trust deficit has been very much spoken about. So trust come about with, so digital provides that pillar of integrity because it allows us to be able to track, trace, confirm, get feedback, and all will be recorded there. So as such, there's no such thing as someone saying something, because whatever that is transacted is all fully recorded, and it can be a very powerful tool to bring the reputation, credibility. And third one is technology is good, digital is good, ICT is good, because some people are putting their mind towards disruption that's bad, that they have to lay off people and they have to kind of do all kind of new. But good here means it is for us to embrace abundance thinking, that we can achieve a lot more. We can achieve 10x, 100x. So breakthrough, integrity, and good. That's big. Go big with digital. So lastly, what do we do? Now that we have been hearing all these things, in any organization, we have to simplify what can be done. First of all, any organization must have product. Product also means services. The other side, there must be customers. Products and customers, these are the main so-called pillars in any organization and the reasons for their existence. And then the third one is that there must be internal efficiency. So if you look at internal, it means anything from finance, inventory, purchasing, manufacturing, delivery, right? And all the way to logistics in order to reach the customer. So product side, if we go into that whole digital adoption, anything from product creation and product attributes, how ready is it to be able to utilize all the facets of the digital and online capabilities? And so much so that how can it be consumed? How can it be experienced? How can it be augmented by the customer, either through direct experience, offline experience, combined with online, combined with digital experience? So all the aspect of the product creation, product experience, it can be digitalized. So this will help us to guide our thinking as a leader. What is it we can do with regard to our products to make it digital ready and embrace digital fully? And then the other aspect is the customer. In terms of how do I reach out, how do I serve the customer, how do I track the customers, how do I appreciate them, how do I reward them, all this can be done a lot through the digital means as well. So the customer part of it, I think you can combine with all kind of social media, with all kind of channels in order to make the customer experience more holistic, even though it's potentially low touch, but it's actually multi-dimensional as far as customer is concerned. Then internally, it has been widely practiced, especially in the E&E, this nexus, that all the supply chain, purchase of material, inventory control, scheduling of production, of course, finance. This day, all the accounts are tracked using the system, right? HR, everything else. So therefore, internet efficiency can be an excellent candidate as well, while making each and every resource highly productive to also achieve that kind of breakthrough productivity. So if we were to look at these three areas, product, customer, and internet efficiency, there are more than enough rooms for digital adoption and digitalization. And as a leader, there's a need to then prioritize which one actually impact their organization most in terms of revenue enhancement, cost reduction. These are the two very simple measures. So I hope that with that simple pointers, we could, through this crisis, call on the leadership, embark on a very major transformational journey for us and for our organization. Back to you, Ken Yu.
Thank you very much, Dato' Wei. I think we had a very interesting presentation from the three panelists. Certainly, I think it opens the discussion in terms of what we are going to focus on. And allow me to invite all the panelists back and to maybe pose a couple of questions to them. I prepared some of the questions, but what I will do is, because from the questions being posed by the listeners as well, I will try and then paraphrase them, because we won't be able to cover every questions over the next 30 minutes. But the listeners, please feel free. You can continue to ask questions. Panelists, you may choose to reply some of that in the live Q&A. If not, I'll be prompted and I'll ask you the question. So let me, for example, start with the first question as soon as we have Dr. Sri Wong on board as well. The first question, it is related to a question that one of the participants asked, and this is on a scale of 1 to 10. How do you rate digital readiness among Malaysian SMEs, corporates, government, and the people? So from a scale of 1 to 10, and maybe explain a little bit in terms of why you feel that is so. Allow me to maybe start with Dato' Wan Peng first, followed by the two gentlemen.
So sorry, I thought you were talking about Dato' Sri Wong, so I was checking the question.
No problem. Okay. Let me just ask the question again. So on a scale of...
answer the question. I can answer the question.
Okay, maybe okay. Dato' Sri Wong is online.
I'll answer the question first, and then Wan Peng can give us later. Basically, for the you say 1 to 10, is it? You're rating a 1 to 5?
Maybe from a scale of 1 to 10, yeah.
1 to 10. 1 to 10, I think for the MNCs, they are much further ahead. Okay, so they are probably in the level of 7, I would say. MNC maybe 7, 7.5 kind of level. For the large local company, they are quite close. Okay, they have to keep up with the MNCs in their Industry 4.0. And then for the SMEs that I deal with, I see that they still have a long way to go. So there are maybe two groups. One is, maybe around 4, 5, and then another group which is maybe less than that. So that's going to be my assessment.
Thank you, Dr. Sri Wong.
Yeah, I think it's by sector as well. I tend to agree with the assessment by Dr. Sri Wong, because typically MNCs, because they have the more resources, and large companies also have more resources, so they will more likely to be already have started. SMEs, based on the study, I would say 60 to 70% maybe will already have some kind of a computer usage of computer, but the how are they using it, especially in terms of using it effectively, is below 50%. That's for sure. And micro is even hard hit. And certain sector, because last time we did a study and look at, if you go by sector, telco, IT, finance, they are quite okay. But there are certain sector like actually manufacturing is also not high. That's a straight one, but it's not so bad. Like the agriculture and some even the tourism is actually quite bad.
Dr. Wei, would you like to add at this point?
I feel that due to this crisis, it's going to be 80-20. 80% are ready and 20% are still not ready. And chances that the 20% who are not ready may fade away. The 80% that are ready is actually evident in this, when MITI opened up the online application for those who want to resume their business, during certain period of our phase of the lockdown. And surprisingly, in the first day when MITI opened for online application, 170,000 companies applied online to say that, yes, I need to resume my business operation. Now, you see, we have about 500,000 active companies out of a universe of about 1 million registered companies. And of course, many are micro, like mom and pop shop, but you may say the active number of companies are actually 500,000. 170,000 applying to MITI online website to resume work on the first day, within 1 day. Can you imagine? 170,000 companies that have actually applied. It gives a very clear signal that, for survival, they have to be ready. So right now, the leadership knows that if they don't do something different, they will not continue to be in business. So because of that, I give 80%. And of course, out of 80% who are ready, it will also be 80-20. Chances that 20% out of the 80% will be able to implement it very well according to the Pareto rules, and the rest of 80% are going to be struggling along the way, as it's going to be an ongoing process.
Thank you, Dr. Wei. Allow me to jump to a question from one of the participants, and this one maybe that Dr. Sri Wong is probably most suited, talking about the global supply chain. The question is, they ask is, given the pandemic, there's a push to look at the global supply chain to more localized supply chain to reduce disruption in the pandemic. Is this the new normal? Maybe some of the views from Dr. Sri Wong.
I think, the global supply chain definitely is disrupted. So when China was faced with the US-China trade war, already started to disrupt. And then after that, you get this COVID-19 disruption was really bad during that time. Everybody was struggling, and everybody was saying that, hey, Chinese companies going to move to Malaysia. And then here we are now in March, we have this lockdown, and then we disrupted the supply chain, and China start opening up in April, March, end March, April. And then you look around the world where all the companies are affected, countries are affected. So supply chain all around the world get disrupted at different times, in the world. And so supply chain definitely disrupted. So then our question to the companies who are having this problem is, what are they going to do? And so that's why we advocate that, the companies in China will probably have to mitigate their risk by having other sources outside of China. They cannot be all in China. So that's why we think that more of companies from China will find another location. Now for Malaysian companies, they also are looking at different locations. So when we lock down, and some of our suppliers are global supply chain companies, even though they're not selling to Malaysia, but they're selling to outside of the country. When they are locked down and have only 30% capacity, that's where the problem is. So they are also talking about, hey, maybe I got to set up another plant overseas just in case Malaysia has another lockdown. So everybody is thinking that way, okay, that they need another location. So I would see that this strategy of having another location to mitigate the risk is going to happen. So some could localize, some could regionalize, and some may have moved. So some companies have started their operations in Europe and also in Central America, in Mexico or in Costa Rica, that kind of area. So to mitigate the risk in case of Asia gets this, I have a plant in Central America that can do the job. So this is all going around to in the decision making right at the top.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Dr. Sri. Maybe as a follow-on question to Dr. Wan Peng, what then can the Malaysian government do in terms of attracting investments into the country? There was a question from one of the participants. For example, in Japan, they talk about the government budgeting $2 billion to help Japanese companies to relocate from China back to Japan. Maybe instead of that, they can look at Malaysia as a nearshore type of solution for them. What do you think, Dr. Wan Ping?
That's definitely something that we are looking at. We can see that it's also answer the global supply chain, because globalization is getting a lot of people are questioning about globalization. But I don't think you can go back to a place to a time whereby everything is self-sufficient. It's just not possible. So Malaysia, well, we should take advantage of the situation as a country that has friendly relationship with the major economies in the world, and coupled with Malaysia's advantage of multicultural, multi-language workforce. And during this, the last few weeks, we have actually received inquiries about moving some of the investment into Malaysia in the space of GBS. Of course, I'm talking about jobs, but I also believe that we can take advantage of the change, the shift in the supply chain, global supply chain, and play our part. We have quite strong fundamental, because in the past we thought that we can't compete with countries like China, therefore nobody even want to go into that space. But now we do have opportunity, because every country wants to diversify and also want to reduce the risk of over dependent on one country. We have very strong E&E, that's for sure, and that's something we can take advantage on. And then Malaysia's talent in a few areas, especially in some of the tech sector, is what we can leverage as well. So yes, while we are looking at the disruption created by this COVID, we are also looking at opportunities to attract investment. Well, we have inquiries, and interestingly, even China is the largest source at
Private base.
wanting to come in. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Wan Ping. I'll shift gears a little bit and I'll post this to Dr. Wei, this question, Dr. Wei, as well. But the other panelists, feel free to also jump in if you have a comment. This one is, I'll paraphrase a question that one of the participants asked on the Industry 4.0 blueprint, or I will call it maybe the industry forward blueprint that MITI has come up with. They say some of the terms, for example, robotics, IoT, big data, are Greek to many, very foreign to many SMEs. Should we start with some smaller, bite-sized type of programs for SMEs that they can relate to better? For example, they talk about remote working, teleworking, e-commerce, work from home options. Would that be more palatable to SMEs and they find it not so alien to them? Maybe we'll start with Dr. Wei on this.
Oh, well, I've been through that kind of experience being startup, being SME, being a medium-sized company. And of course, I worked with multinational companies before. I certainly see that whether or not the SME is ready to adopt IR 4.0, like robotics and whatever other technology in a bigger way, it really depends on the readiness of the leadership. Because when the leader is ready, he or she will then, together with the team, the leadership team, make the rest of the people ready. Because an organization will never have all the talents of robotics in the day one. They will never have IoT knowledge in day one. They will never have all the rest of IT, big data, whatever knowledge from day one. However, this must be either acquired by training the people or by hiring, by giving the opportunity for a third party to outsource part of a function to support them. So there are many ways to do this. It is the will. It is not so much whether they know or they don't know. And having said that, it is still important to then educate the leadership level, because a lot of the rest of the people in the organization tend to follow the direction of what the management, what the leadership are actually planning. So only when the leadership level people are well exposed and well trained, then they can effect that kind of adoption of IR 4.0. And when they adopt, chances is that it need not be incremental. It can be a big step. Of course, there will always be this good practice or best practice of starting pilot to see that it works, then only scale up, right?
Yeah, I think this is something MDEC did with the DTAP program. I thought maybe this is a good time to talk about DTAP. I personally was involved in some of the working with some of the partners in the previous life I had. And I thought the DTAP program is a good program in which to help companies, at least on the pilot stage, to bring them on the digitalization journey. Dr. Wan Ping, you would like to maybe elaborate a bit?
Yeah, I think I briefly talked about it in my presentation. DTAP is something we collaborate with MIDA to help company to digitalize. What we do is that we work with Digital Transformation Lab. These are industry players who has experience in the digitalization, and then we interested companies will then be matched with the Transformation Lab, and they go through a session of identifying the problem or opportunities where identify area to digitalize, and then they move on and co-create a solution. And after they identify what they want to do, well then they decide to work with some technology partner to roll out those digitalization. So this kind of a DTAP program will typically take about 6 months or even longer, because we start with pilot and then they can later decide to move on their own. But I would like to go back to the SME, because for SME, this may even, for them, this can be a bit too difficult. That's why I also answer in the Q&A that we have rolled out something that people can adopt quickly within a week or so. We talk about the remote working like Zoom and Team. So we have identified partners. Seven companies actually offer the solution for free for SMEs, for anyone, not just SME, for anyone to use. And we continue to receive offer from industry to offer such services. And e-commerce is something that I agree. This is something that people can relate. So when we talk about digitalization, sometimes when we go out to the industry, we don't even use the word digitalization because this sounds alien. We just say that use a tool that help you to run your business. So that's how we are approaching some of the people. So that it's not something that is so remote. It's something is real. And we currently actually for this whole week we are running something called e-commerce festival, and we have reached out to about 1 million people already. And some of the sharing is like, how can you bring a business online in a day? This is what we are trying to do, especially during this time. DTAP is very much about increasing productivity, but here we are also talking about business continuity here. So business continuity is like you go online, you do your business. And I also try to answer another question about which sector is easy to go. I would like to say that every sector can go, but those who can transition to online very fast, services is one. And also because services is like you don't really need to have physical presence. Something like administrative, for instance, accounting, legal, and all those things can do. Education can. So services can be quite fast. But you want to do it well, then you have to continue to improve. When I say can do it fast means you can start something. But to be good, you have to continue to improve. You have to learn. The world on online world is different. The reach is different. How you engage with customer is different. How you respond to customer is different. How you deliver is different. So this is very important. Just like retail, right? And I say you can move business online one day. That's correct because you can start selling. But you want to continue to retain your customers, to attract customers. You need to know how to do your product branding, positioning, and how, again, go back to how you engage with customers. It's actually taking the offline business to online and then change your approach so that you can grow your business. So I know I'm talking all this thing, not just detail, but this is what I'm trying to say. So in my written response also, I say, go to SME Quick Win, go to the digital versus COVID. There are a lot of solutions listed there. Go and get it. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Wan Ping.
Can I add a
Sure, Dr. Sri Wong.
From the E&E industry and from the factories, manufacturing perspective, you know, I mean, depends on your understanding of Industry 4.0. You know, if you understand it a lot more and you know what needs to be done and all that, you can actually, NITI offers a free assessment, okay? And you should go and apply for that assessment to assess where your factories are in the Industry 4.0 journey. Then from there, you can decide what do you want to do. You want to take care of the low-hanging fruit, or you want to redesign, just like what I said, define the new business model and then plan it from there. So all depends on the company. But if you don't even understand what is Industry 4.0, we always tell the companies or SMEs, start from the basic. That is productivity improvement program. So for example, can you do lean manufacturing or total productive maintenance? That was simple problem solving. And then how do you collect data? Do you have data to analyze where the problem is? Start basic, and then from there, you can then get into the more, I call it a little more advanced techniques, so to speak, in your manufacturing area. So it depends on which stage you are in. So those in the lower level then can just do the basic problem solving techniques and productivity improvement. Those who have that understanding can apply and do the assessment. So for example, I give you a simple example. Last time a factory has, let's say, 6 lines. Each line had 1 maintenance person. So after they consolidated all the data into 1 central room and only 1 technician monitoring it, only when there is a problem, you send a technician out to go and maintain the equipment where the manufacturing specialist or the operator could not handle the problem. You see what I mean? So now I save, instead of 6 technicians, I now reduce to 1. So a simple productivity improvement, and then it's data driven. You don't have to keep walking up and down the line because the line is so long. Some of them could be 100 meters long, and then you keep walking up and down. It doesn't really make sense. So they consolidate like that. So it all depends on what level you are, and solutions can be simple and solutions can be complex. If you want to go like the one I said, that you want to have a architect your whole line. Okay. Yes. So in the E&E Productivity Nexus, we have programs like Plugfest, where they actually show you how can you do it. Okay, attending the 3-day class, including writing the program, the software, the programming. Just now you say your son is learning to do that in the plant. Okay, on a small scale, using industry problem and solve it. Now, if you can attend that program, then they'll give you a precision on that. So we have also set up the Industry 4.0 technology centers across the whole country, all the way from Penang to Johor, also setting up in Sabah, Sarawak, where SMEs can go and walk in and find out, what can they do. And we also have a directory of system integrators who can help the factory who wants to integrate the whole system. It all depends on what they want to do. Okay.
Okay.
So we have that.
Thank you, Dr. Sri. So hopefully with that, the alphabet soup of digital transformation, AR, VR, AI, IoT, it will not be so burdensome to the SMEs in Malaysia. Allow me to switch. Okay.
Can you, if I may just add for a minute, for the digital productivity nexus, we have actually in the last 2 months conducted about 20 different online sessions. About 10 sessions were actually on the online entrepreneurship, because it is actually for smaller companies that has got the trade in whatever products to bring their products online. So this is a series that has been conducted. And then the other one is actually the introduction of the various technology. So this is like including IoT or various idea about how a leader could actually use certain method of the digital adoption. So this has also been a series, and you could also look out in the MPC, in the Malaysia Productivity Corporation, the website there, to see there are various webinars along this line. So that's why I feel that it is perhaps not short of information, just that the entrepreneurs, especially in the SME sectors, will need to take charge. The leadership need to take charge.
Thank you.
That way just trigger me, sorry. Just trigger me about the webinars. We have a 7-series webinar of Industry 4.0. So you need information, contact NPC or contact one week of NPC.
Yes.
So it's on.
Thank you. I'm also cognizant of time, so maybe let me just switch gear for the last couple of minutes, maybe the last 10 minutes or so, hopefully. Dr. Sri Wong talked about in terms of reducing the amount of, say, technicians and to troubleshoot. Do you think, I think Malaysia has a maybe over-reliance on foreign workers, and that to an extent hampers digitalization. And in terms of productivity, I use the term productivity per employee or productivity GDP per worker hour. Do you think this is something that is a serious issue with Malaysia? I open it up to the panel. Anyone can respond to that.
I think I need to respond. I know why, because I'm working on this foreign workers recommendation to the government from the Pemuda perspective. I'm already working on the paper, so I know the topic quite well. Okay, first of all, government says and industry says. Industry say and what government says, they don't agree. Government says hiring foreign workers is cheap. Therefore, we want to hire foreign workers because low labor cost. Industry say hiring foreign workers is more expensive, and the reality is actually it's more expensive. Okay, and then the industry says that our workers do not want to do 3D jobs, and then the government says that how come our workers go Singapore, they do 3D jobs? You know, just ding dong will never end this issue. But the industry biggest problem is that the Malaysian workers seems to be, and it's something that I need to understand further, that they don't have the same attitude as the foreign workers, which means that the foreign workers are more willing to work the overtime, more willing to do relocate, and more willing to work harder. Okay, our Malaysian workers end of the month, or when they get a bonus, they're absent for 2 days. So the guy say, how do I run my factory if you keep like this? So anyway, so that is the kind of issue that we have. Okay, now, before COVID-19, we already have an unemployment rate of 3% or less, which means full employment. And if the industry are continuing to grow 4.5%, definitely we don't have enough workers. We need foreign workers. And the question is, what, how many, and how much? Okay, so this is a long story because I have to explain many things inside there. However, now with COVID-19, we are projecting an unemployment rate of at least, I think, 1.5 million. Okay, even say we 1 million. Then our foreign workers in the country is about 2 million. Not counting the illegal workers. I have not counted. Okay, I just counted legal workers, which means that there will be the need for these workers will be lower. Okay, as time goes on, as the impact of COVID-19 play out in the second half of this year, I believe that the number of workers will be reduced, both local and foreign workers. Then I just made a proposal yesterday to the government. How do you deal with both unemployment of local workers versus unemployment of foreign workers? And of course, we would like to give priority to our local Malaysian workers so that they can get a job. But then how do you do with the foreign workers who have already signed a contract with you for 2 years? This is a very complex problem. Okay. So I'll leave it at here. Okay.
Dr. Sri, thank you.
I want to say something.
Invite Dr. Wamping here.
So this is a topic that is very close to everybody, and even in MDEC, we are looking at what we can do. So thank you, Dr. Sri Wong. I would like to catch up with you maybe later to understand a bit more on the data. We look at a lot of time. There are two things that we are looking at. Question to answer is why locals do not want to take up the job. I don't think it's just 3D per se, but there may be something else. So maybe they do not even know about opportunity, because I say when you go to small town, right, the locals are working in the restaurant and looking at the plantation, but being at a more industrial area, it tend to be a foreign worker, including the big manufacturing plant. So two things. One is about training our people and helping them to understand the job. Secondly, how can we make the job more attractive? That's when we talk about driving automation using technology. So assembly work, let's say assembly line, if you have a more automation, and then you can train our locals to be able to manage the line, let's say. So it may be, I'm just saying that it may be more attractive. So still an area that we do not have enough information, just about services and all. So in fact, MDEC is also looking at how we can use this to understand the supply and demand, and then for us identify areas that require improvement. I'll stop here because I think I need to leave you guys for now, and then perhaps Dr. Sri Wong and Dr. Wei want to continue.
I will share the foreign workers information with you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I just
Dr.
quickly
Wan
add
Peng.
to one thing. I feel that, Malaysian, I often take Grab before the COVID, and I find that, many of the workers, they are of all the races, Chinese, Indian, Malays, and they work odd hours. Sometimes I arrive from the airport at about 11:30. When I arrive home, it's about like 1 o'clock. The drivers come from all walks of life. But I asked them, why are you working at this hour? The answer was that I'm hoping to generate some extra income, more income. So that's why this is the time where I can make more income. So I see that the root of a lot of this workers' issue has to do with income. Can you imagine, let's say if, for example, if Malaysians are paid minimal 5,000 ringgit, minimal, I'm giving a bit of a stretch imagination, then you'll find people will be, because of that requirement to be able to generate that kind of income based on certain work hours, based on certain level of output, it must be outcome driven, not so much a number of hours, it must be outcome driven. Then people are measured that way, they will be paid in such a manner. I could see that a lot of people to do whatever job. So now, of course, to be able to get that kind of outcome, to adopt the digital mean will become necessary. Either, you can use a local worker, you can use foreign workers, as long as you get a kind of outcome. As far as the business owner or person, it becomes an option. Then there's always a preference towards local, simply because local then would not need to have their accommodation and other cultural issues, right? So I think, we need to address the kind of total pay package that actually, and how to achieve the outcome. This is where all the leaders need to think about it, right? So looks
Thank you.
like
Thank you, Dr. Wei. Yeah, so
are we concluding in 2 minutes? Because I thought
we will maybe just a couple more minutes. This is a lead-on question that I prepared earlier on. This also has to do with human capital, but more from the primary as well as the secondary school and the tertiary institutions. So this is a deck that actually I have in terms of the dwindling number of STEM talent, and this is a cause of concern because if you want to digitalize, 48% in 2012 studied, say, it's in the science stream. But in 2018, it has dropped to 44%. In addition to that, the enrollment in what is called IPT, swasta, private as well as public universities, the amount of those studying STEM-related courses is also dropping. I think that's an area of concern if you want to digitalize. What are your views on that? Maybe Dr. Wei and followed by Dr. Sri Wong.
I think, yes, I agree with you that when the enrollment ratio shows the declining interest in STEM, it will then affect the overall pool of talents coming to the entire market. So it is unhealthy. As far as our country is concerned, this trend is unhealthy. We would like to urge the government, especially the MOE, MOHE, to look at what are those initiatives to be able to kind of enhance the interest by making STEM a top choice or priority for the students. And this is totally necessary for our country to become a digital country. Of course, we have been embarking on digital journey, but to be a real major powerhouse in the digital adoption, we do need to have a lot more talents who are digitally ready.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wei. Dr. Sri Wong?
Yes, I don't know where you get your data, but my data tells me that 30 years ago, our number of students studying science and engineering is about 60+%, and everybody fight to go to the science stream, science class.
Yes.
After Form 3, they want to go to science class. But now, the number I have is about 20+%, okay? Which means that over the years, it keeps coming down to 20, less than 25%. Okay,
Mhm.
so if Malaysia wants to be a country of innovation, a country of high technology, high value, high tech, you need scientists, you need engineers. Okay, so we don't have enough. That's number one. So of course we need the government, and the government have announced many times that we will try to encourage more students to go science and engineering. However, okay, the what do you call it, there are a few things that needs to be done other than encouraging. So in E&E productivity nexus, we are doing two things. One is to get engineers who have not been hired back into engineering. Okay, they studied 4 years of engineering. We say that if I do a training program on them, we can get them back into engineering jobs.
Okay.
On the high end, give me 1 minute. I'll just finish. Okay.
Then I will invite Dato' Wei to do his final point before I wrap up. Okay.
Okay. And then at the high end, we are trying to encourage more companies to do design and development. So, and especially the Malaysian companies who find that the tools to do design are very expensive. For example, EDA tools can cost a few $1 million. So if I'm an entrepreneur, I want to start up a company, how am I going to invest unless I get a commitment from a customer who's going to buy my product?
Yeah.
So if you do design, is so expensive. Now you want to do the tooling and engineering and automation, I need the mechanical tools again, which is design tools. Okay, SolidWorks, for example. And that again is expensive, especially as you go to the advanced. So we are trying to do a lower cost consolidation whereby they can do it for a nominal fee or for free for design. So it's how we are trying to do to get encouragement to help the SMEs. Now, so my last point to that about the lack of workers is that of engineers and scientists is that we need to learn how to use other people's talent. Singapore use our talent like crazy. Okay, they give them scholarships, they give them all kinds of incentive to come over to Singapore, and they use all the talents around Southeast Asia. So Malaysia needs to start looking at how to use these talents from other countries who can help us.
Thank you, Sri Wong. Dato' Wei, your closing statement.
Well, yes, I think I just want to call upon awakening of our own leadership within us to embark on full digital adoption. Call out to every DNA, mutate our DNA to be a digitally ready DNA. And I wish everyone good luck. Thank you very much. Right.
Thank you.
I'm going
Dr. Sri Wong, now your closing, any closing statements you'd like to add on to your point?
Encourage everybody to embark on the digital transformation journey, because you can see tremendous benefit, and it's just a matter of taking a little time and planning. And then I gave you the 7 steps. Look at it and see what you can do. All the best. Thank you very much, moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sri Wong, Dato' Wei, and Dr. Ng Wan Peng for this session. I hope the participants found it useful. Allow me to do a little bit of commercial here. I think it was also mentioned by Dr. Sri Wong. MPC, together, I think from MITI, they have a readiness assessment for digital transformation. It's available free, but you need to apply for it. And then they will go in and study your readiness for digital transformation. And what are some of the baby steps or the bite-sized steps that you can take for digital transformation? So I'd like to do a little bit commercial for MPC in terms of ensuring that Malaysians are ready for digital transformation. I think the session was very productive. There were a lot of insightful comments from the panelists. The questions also were very, I think some questions were, I looked through the questions and they were very useful questions in posing to the panelists. My apologies if I have not been able to cover all the questions during this 1.5 hour session that we had earlier. We will continue this. As you mentioned, MPC, either the E&E Productivity Nexus or the Digital Productivity Nexus organizes webinars on a regular basis. So if you like to, we'll continue to keep you updated and keep you informed as to when these sessions will be taking place. But keep this conversation going. I have the list of questions that you have posed. What I'll do is I will share this with MPC so that in the event we need to reach out to the relevant authorities in terms of some of the issues that you have raised, such as I know they talk about bandwidth. How can I do so many Zoom calls in a day when the bandwidth is insufficient to support my requirement? So these are some of the things that We may not have immediate answers, but we can take steps to be able to address them during this time.
Ong,
So,
can I
sorry?
just do a quick
Dr. Sri?
commercial?
Sure.
Quick commercial. E&E Productivity Nexus will be holding 3 seminars on May 13, 18, and 28 on how to overcome the impact of COVID-19. So just watch out for our flyers and please sign up for the webinar. Thank you.
So with that, allow me to thank the team both at MPC, Puan Halimaton, Puan Izzati, and also the PICOM team led by Grace for arranging this webinar today. Also thanks also to the folks at Microsoft and SRKK for supporting us with the technology platform for this morning's webinar. So with that, thank you very much and have a good day and stay safe, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.